limit their life and businesses to only one country. Making an active decision with regards to your residence and citizenship gives you more personal freedom, privacy, and security. So the benefits of acquiring either a second passport or permanent residency are enormous, given the current socio-political situation we find ourselves around the world. And also is a good way of having a good return on investment. So having noted the benefits of obtaining a dual residency or passport, it is important to state that establishing oneself or one's business in a new country requires securing relationship with key partners such as lawyers, tax experts, bankers, and real estate professionals. Although it is possible to incorporate a company, establish a branch or subsidiary of a foreign company, or even invest or establish a business in another country, and by so doing obtain a residency permit. However, the laws of most countries are increasingly complex and subject to continuous amendments. So the procedures can be daunting for prospective applicants who are not fully conversant with all the relevant legal requirements and aspects relevant to their applications. So the use of an experienced specialist will significantly increase the chances of success. In majority cases, the use of a professional consultant makes the difference between obtaining a residency permit and either being refused one. It is for this obvious reason that we have organized this webinar to enlighten our clients, prospects, and the general public on the requirements for obtaining an alternative residency in the United States, albeit through investment. To lead the discourse this evening, we have a distinguished subject matter expert and specialist, Mr. Musa Ndiaye. Mr. Ndiaye is a director of investor relations at CMB Regional Center. He is an experienced investor relations manager with a demonstrated history of working in the financial services industry. He is skilled in negotiation, budgeting, political science, business planning, and analytical skills. He's also a strong entrepreneur with a bachelor in sales. My name is Chinedu Ozo. I head the Immigration and Legal Advisory Services at DCSL Corporate Services, and I'll be your moderator for this session. But before I leave the stage temporarily, I would like to take a minute to introduce the services we provide at DCSL Corporate Services to our audience and participants at this webinar. DCSL is a leading provider of governance, company secretarial, immigration, and legal services to clients across several sectors of the Nigerian economy, and is also a former Deloitte entity. Our key services include governance services. We provide board evaluation services. We conduct governance reviews and assist companies to codify their charters and policies. We also assist in recruitment of non-executive directors and advising on board committee sizes and composition. Under governance services, we also provide whistleblower services amongst other key governance services. We also provide corporate secretarial services support, and we are, of course, company secretaries to a number of companies in Nigeria, both in the private and public, public companies operating in Nigeria. We also provide training for directors and senior management. Trainings could be bespoke or open enrollment training programs. We also provide business advisory and regulatory compliance services under our sister firm, DCSL Law. We advise companies on compliance issues, company startup, business combinations, mergers, acquisitions, business recovery, and insolvency. We also provide executive talent recruitment and director selection programs for our clients and the entire public. DCSL also conducts research and surveys. As stated earlier on, we also provide regulatory statutory compliance and, of course, immigration services under which this webinar falls. So under immigration services, we provide assist companies to process the expatriate quota, visas, work and residence permits. So I would like to inform our audience that this webinar is structured into two parts. The first part will basically deal with the presentation by Mr. Ndiaye on investment that are tied to the permanent residency program, while the second part is the Q&A session that will provide good insights into the working of the investment visa program, as well as other areas that our participants might find interesting. Before I invite Mr. Andeya, I would like to ask that the participants should please make this webinar to be as interactive as possible. We are all required to drop our comments in the comment section, and if you have questions to ask, to put them in the comments section. And I trust Mr. Andiaya will do justice to those questions at the end of his presentation. Just to inform us that this webinar is being streamed live on YouTube, and you can also follow DCSL on our social media handles, DCSL Nigeria for Twitter, and also DCSL Corporate Services for LinkedIn. I will now invite Mr. Ndiaye to make his presentation, and I'll see you to take your questions at the end of the presentation. Mr. Ndiaye, please.
Chinedu, thank you so much for this introduction, and I'm glad to be here today to be talking to some of your clients. As Chinedu said, I'm the Director of Investor Relations at CMB Regional Centers. We are based in Rock Island, Illinois. We also have an office in Dallas, Texas. I've been involved in the EB5 since 2015, and during that time, I have assisted over like 200 investors from all around the world. And I come to Nigeria quite often to meet with potential investors. This year, 2020, unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to go to Nigeria yet, but I was planning on doing so, and I'm still planning. I'm just waiting for better time to be able to have in-person meetings with individuals and talk about EB5 and what we do at CMB regional centers. So without further ado, I'm just gonna go ahead and get into the presentation itself, and just a second, and introduce you guys to CMB, what we do, who we are, and what we have achieved in the EB5 investment program. So, guessing everyone can see right now. So, CMB Regional Centers has been created by Mr. Patrick Hogan. This is the gentleman on the right side of the slide that you're seeing. Patrick Hogan has been involved in the EB5 since 1992. The program was actually created in 1990 by the US Congress to further develop the economy in the US and allow investors to bring their capital and their knowledge into the US. So when a high net worth individual makes an investment into the US, they come into the US, they invest into the US, and they also come in with their expertise and their experience. They do not just come with seeking a job or anything. Most of the time, they come in with to install, to start a business and stuff like that in the United States. So it's a win-win for the United States. The rest of the gentlemen in the photos are actually the senior members of the senior management of CMB regional centers. And to date, we have assisted over 5,700 investors get their residency in the EB5. Among them, 4,800 have done the first tranche of the EB5, which is to get the I-526 approvals, which is the first petition that you file. The I-526 is the combination of source of funds. Where did the money come from? What did you do to make this money? And the project that you're investing into. So the combination of all those packages, what you submit to the US Citizenship and Immigration Services, they will process it. And once they process it and approve it, you will get your I-526 approval, which is your key to get to the next level, which is to get the visa. You get your visa, you get a 2 years, you get a 6 months visa to enter the US. Then you have a 2 years conditional residency, and then 3 months prior to the expiration of that visa, you file for what we call the IA-29 approval. As of right now, we are over 1,200 investors that have received that IA-29 approval. Just so you know, by the time one gets to this level, they have probably been into the process for over 4 years. And we also have returned the capital to over 1,200 investors. It's not as if you make an investment and then you lose it, but you make an investment and then your investment is returned to you at a certain period. So we have representative, not all over the world. We have representative all over the world, but we have people that speak several languages in our office. We have 14 languages that are spoken into our office. I'm in charge of Africa, Middle East, and most of Europe. So I have close to 70 clients that I've gotten from Nigeria that have trusted me into their EB5 pursuit. And we have someone who is in charge of actually Russia, Ukraine, and all that. We have one for China, India, and several parts of the world. So we speak all those languages, and we have investors from 102 countries all around the world. And all of these small dots are where we have projects. If you look around, you'll see all these small dots. So you see this is in Colorado. This is part of Nevada. This is all in California, Southern California, Northern California. This is all in Texas. These are all small projects that we have done in the EB5 all around the United States. Florida, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Ohio, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, and Michigan. All of these we have done projects in those areas. And just so when one individual is doing the EB5, the main goal for them is to get the permanent residency. This is only for the green card. The EB5 is only for the green card. When one individual get the green card first, and then they are looking for something that they will have safety of investment. So you don't want your investment to be lost. You want your money to come back to you at a certain period. And that's what we are doing our best to offer to our investors. And you get your investment and you get also somehow a return on your investment, which is not significant, but the two main reasons someone will do the EB5 is first, the green card to allow the residency in the US for themselves and their family, and second, the return of their initial investment. This is the way that we structure our investment. It's pretty straightforward. We are a loan-based regional centers. A loan base actually was created by our CEO, Mr. Patrick Hogan, back in 1997 when he opened the CMB Export, which is the first regional center that he has opened. He initially did the EB5 in 1994 with individuals, but then created CMB in 1997, CMB Export. CMB's Export came up with this structure. And EB5 Invest, we will have a company set up called a new commercial entity. EB5 investors will invest into that new commercial entity. That new commercial entity, instead of just investing directly into the project, will make a loan to a set project. That project has to repay the loan at a certain point to that new commercial entity, and the money goes back to the investors. All that time, CMB will be the one managing that partnership. So CMB will be the general partner of that partnership, and we'll do our best to control. So we have everything. We have a quarterly update that we get from the JCE. So we hold job creation entity. That's the corporation that will create the infrastructure that is needed to create jobs for each investor. So each investment must create at least 10 new American jobs. They provide us quarterly update, so we know exactly how the project is advancing. We have a funding account. We don't just give them the funds, so they will present us with an invoice of something that has been done into the project, so we know exactly where they are into the evolution of the construction, and we will release those funds. So we have ongoing and continuous review of everything that is happening into the project itself. All of these are partnerships that we have done. So we have 68 partnerships that have received I-526 or I-924 approval. I-526 is the individual approval of their petition, as I explained earlier. I-924 is the approval of the project. So USCIS, when someone files a petition, an I-526 petition, it's a combination of I-924, which is the project information, with the individual source of funds. That package is called the I-526. So the I-924 is still filed at the same time. And once we receive an I-924, it means that the project has been approved. And once an individual receives also an I-526 approvals, it means that the project and an individual have received the approval of their petition. So we have 68 partnerships that have received, that have passed that level. And we have 24 partnerships that have received IA29 approvals, which is the permanent residency for investors. And we have also returned the capital. We have return of capitals from 24 partnerships. Those are partnerships that have gone through the total immigration process. They use the funds that we have provided them with, build the project, and then refund it back, the investment back to the limited partnership. And the limited partnership will be in charge of returning the funds back to the investors. In Nigeria, we have our first investor came in 2009. So we have been, seems like we know investors, we know Nigerians, we know the Nigerian market, and we know several Nigerian investors and all that. So pretty early in the EB5 program, we have had a Nigerian investors, and it was two brothers, and they now live in Southern California. They participated in the EB5 back in 2009. And in total, we have assisted nearly 70 investors from Nigeria, and we have 40 that have passed the first step of getting their I-526 and are either living in the U.S. or are waiting for their visa to be issued. So these 40 include the investor plus it will be the investor. This is only counting the investors, but each investment will have green card for investor, spouse, and any unmarried children under the age of 21. You can have family of 10, whatever you want. They will all be included into your investment. And we have over 10 investors that have received their permanent residency, and we have also returned the capital to 11 investors from Nigeria. The first two in 2009, the two brothers are also part of those 11 investors. They invested in the Group B, which was our second investment back then. So why would someone consider EB5 in these times? So, we are in tough time right now with the COVID-19, the oil price, the decline of the oil price, the OPEC restrictions and all that. It is really much affecting Nigeria and the economy. But if you have the capacity of making an EB5 investment into the United States, I will say that it's one of the safest things that you can do for your family, for your children, to allow them to have access into a different country. Getting a visa, a B1, B2 visa at the consulate is not allowing you to leave into the United States. It will just allow you to stay in the US for a certain period, 6 months stop, and then you have to go back to Nigeria. If your kids are applying for school, it's not guaranteed that they will get the visa. If your wife wants to leave, if you have a property in the US and you want to enjoy that property and live there, it's not guaranteed that you will get your visa either. So having an EB5 visa gives you access to the US. For if you want to even implement a business, if you want to have a business running into the US, if you want to have just access to a different country that you can go to whenever you want. You can go to the United States, you have your green card, which will lead you to the citizenship afterwards if you're interested. As a Nigerian, you are allowed to have double citizenship, so that's not a dual citizenship. That is not going to be a problem. After someone gets the green card for 5 years, they're eligible to get the citizenship in the United States. And you can go to the universities, one of the best universities in the US. The best universities in the world are in the US. And also, Nigerians are considered the most educated citizen nationals in the United States. So getting into the US will give access to your children to be able to join those Nigerian nationals who have been able to be successfully in America and be successful professionals in whatever they would be doing. I usually use one example of one client that I have. He has 6 children. He's from Port Harcourt. And in 2015, he did the EB5. When I used to talk with him, in 2014, he told me, no, in 2015 is when I assisted him for him to do the EB5. But in 2014, he knew about the EB5, and his son wanted to go to university in the US in Oklahoma for petroleum engineering. And the tuition was very, very expensive. Even though he can afford it, he can also save a lot of money if he gets the green card. So he just asked his son to just be patient a little bit. In 2015, he did the EB5. In 2017, he moved in Houston with his family. In 2016, his son did his first year of his petroleum engineering classes with an international visa. The second year, he saved half of what the tuition was because his son was able to change from an international student to an in-state student. So his tuition was cut half, and he was able to just uh, was saving much more money with the rest of his kids. So what the investment of 500,000 he made allowed him to save a lot of money for his children's tuition fees, and also the house that he bought back in 2015 has nearly doubled in value right now. So he has saved so much money just by doing the EB5, and he also recently received his money back. So that guy is a very lucky guy, I would say. And back then, when he did the EB5, the naira was just around 100. $1 was just around 100 naira. So he saved a lot of money, I would say. Uh, just so you know, in CMB, we can just give numbers and all that, but all of the information that we provide are financially audited. So everything that you want to know, if someone wants to review the documentation that we have that are audited, we can also provide those information. We are not hiding anything, and everything that we said is actually accurate. So we'll just talk about a little bit one of the partnership that we currently have open for subscription, and just to explain you what the type of investment that we offer to our investors. This is the CMB Group 75. It is located in Detroit, Michigan, and it is with a company called Hillwood Development. Hillwood was created by Ross Perot Jr., the son of Ross Perot Sr., who was a candidate in the 90s into the United States election as an independent. Back when it was, that was the first time ever that they did a debate with three candidates. Because usually a third party candidate never gets to the level of joining the debate. And he was a very smart guy. He started into a technology, and his son created Hillwood Development, and now it's $1 billion company all around the world. So yeah, 1988 is when Ross Perot Jr. founded the company Hillwood Development based in Dallas. So his dad was an IBM salesman, and he was involved in that for quite some time. And he just recently passed away last year, if I'm not mistaken. And he ran for president in 1992 and 1996. So Hillwood is in several markets in the US. Uh, their main business is logistic buildings. So when you see Amazon fulfillment centers, most of them are actually built by Hillwood Development. Hillwood is known for that. They are in the top 10 developers in the US, and they are the number one in this type of uh, buildings, logistic buildings. They're based in Dallas, Texas, and they have buildings that they have done in the US and also international. They're, it's a really a great company that we have been partnering for. Or we have done with them over 30 partnerships, if I'm not mistaken, 31 partnerships to be exact, with them that have been successful till today. This is a video about Hillwood, but I'm assuming that people do not hear the sound. So I'll just explain a little bit what is being talked about. Oh, well, okay, so here's the video. These are the offices of Hillwood, where they're based in Dallas, Texas. And these are the type of buildings that they are known buildings that companies like Amazon, Kohl's, PepsiCo, all of those uses for their businesses. They're based in Dallas, Texas here. Yes, they do logistic warehouse such as like this for storage and also some similar, for example, also people who used to go to the US, Walmart, Costco, their buildings, they store a lot of stuff like this. And Hillwood also can provide those type of buildings. These are location of all the areas that Hillwoods have done businesses at. If you look at this, this is, for example, an example of what a fulfillment center is like. So I'm assuming this is for a DHL or something like that, but this is similar to what they provide, the service that Hillwood provides. So the project that we are going to do with Hillwood is a build-to-suit building for an e-commerce company that I cannot disclose the name until we have a non-disclosure in place with anyone who's interested in knowing more details about the tenant. But there's a lease already signed for a tenant for 517,000 in Detroit, Michigan, and they have already signed it. It's in here. It is mentioned that it's in negotiation to sign the lease, but the lease has finally been signed for a 15 years term for that lease. The building will be built specifically for the need of that company that is going to use it, and it will definitely suit what their needs are for. It is next to the I-275, and it will be servicing a high demand area. So it's a great building. Construction has already started, and it is anticipated to be completed on third quarter of next year. This is where the building is going to be located at Detroit. So Detroit is the 14th largest metropolitan city in the United States, and the largest for industry, for automotive industry. So everybody knows Detroit for the fact that Ford and GM Group is there. Chrysler is also there. So it's the biggest automotive industry in the United States. They have a population of 4.3 million, and this company is going to provide services for that population of Detroit. And being in that area is actually going to give access to Canada and also to the northern part of the United States. When an investment is made into an area called a targeted employment area. So I'll start again. The EB5 investment is 1.8 million. But when an individual is making an investment into an area called targeted employment area, which is a rural area or an area with a high unemployment rate. By high unemployment rate, we mean an area with 150% unemployment above the national rate. That area will qualify for the lower investment threshold of $900,000. So this project is located actually in a high unemployment area, exactly in this dot. So it will be able to raise investment at the 900,000 level. And we have the track, the census track, and our economists have provided the USCIS with the studies showing that actually this area qualifies. The unemployment rate when we were doing this project was at 7.28%. This was before the COVID-19. I know that the unemployment rate has significantly increased into the United States, but this was actually before the COVID time, and it qualified back then, so it still qualified. Anybody who's looking at investing at a 900,000 level will be able to invest into this project. The capital stack for this project, we are going to raise a total, the cost of the entire thing is 88 million, and we are going to provide them a loan of $26.1 million. The term of the loan that we are providing them is for 6 years with interest only. The loan will start at the funding date, when we will actually a full funding date, or 6 months from the time that we have initially started raising money for this partnership. We'll be able to provide them the capital. We'll put it into a funding account in which they will not have access. We have 3 individuals into the company that will release the funds as they go throughout the construction. We have several collaterals that we have in place. We have interest reserved through complete. We have a completion guaranteed. So whatever happened, the project will be built. By the project being built means that all of the jobs that we calculated will be created, and that will also guarantee that every investor in this partnership will get their green card, which is the sole purpose of one's investment, is to create 10 new American jobs so that you get your green card. We were initially planning on building 2 buildings added to this project, but we are only going to build to suit, and it is going to create 230 jobs. So this is a little bit the experience that we have with Hillwood. We have done 30 partnerships with them. We have a 31st one that we also have open for subscription. That one is located in Southern California, in Waterman, California. It's also a build-to-suit building for an e-commerce company also. We have 14 partnerships that they have also provided return the funds, which total 338 million, and 5 partnerships have received their IA-29 approval, which is a total of 412 clients that have received their permanent residency already for themselves and their family. So I'm available for any questions. I know that this was a long presentation, and I'm hoping that everybody found it easy to understand, but any questions that you have, I'm available to answer to them. Chinadu, if you can please take it over. We cannot hear you, you're muted.
All right. Can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me, Musa?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, so yeah, many thanks, Mr. Gaye, for the very detailed and insightful presentation. Indeed, the EB5 investment program offers a whole range of opportunities for migration, business, employment, education, and of course, returns on investment. It is also good to know that several Nigerians have benefited from this program through your assistance, whilst a sizable number of applications from Nigeria are currently in the pipeline and awaiting different stages of approval. We hope that at the end of this webinar, we'll also be able to bring on board some applications from the participants and clients in the future. But before we proceed, I would like us to take some questions from the participants. Some of these questions were sent in ahead of the commencement of the webinar, whilst others were sent to during the course of your presentation. So I'll take the first question. The participant wants you to explain what is meant by permanent residency by investment in a layman's language, and how it is better, easier, and faster than other ways of obtaining U.S. permanent residency. For example, the L1 program and also the EB1 programs.
So the EB5 is actually part of among a group of ways to get the permanent residency in the U.S. You can get the permanent residency in the U.S. through marriage, through family reunification, through work sponsorship, through the DV lottery, and through the employment base. The employment base also includes the work, and which is the EB1, so the EB visas, employment base 1 to 5. EB5 is the 5th one, that's the investment. The EB5 right now for Nigerian nationals is the fastest way to get the green card beside the marriage. So if you are marrying a US citizen, it is going to be faster. But the EB5 for anybody who is not into that, into a marriage, it is the fastest. If you can afford it, that's the fastest way to get the green card into the United States. So you make an investment, your petition will be processed in around 2 years, and you get your visa and you'll be able to access to the United States for yourself and your family. The difference with also other type of visa is that sometimes it's specific to one individual. The EB5 is the investors and their entire family. So their spouse and any unmarried children under the age of 21. All of them will be able to qualify into the EB5. The EB1, the 3D investors, the EB1 I thought the EB1 is not a treaty investors. The EB1 is a visa for the highly qualified individuals, someone that the United States needs. That is not actually a work visa, someone that the United States needs, and they provide them a green card for them to stay, like a doctorate or someone like that. The L1 is not a permanent residency, it's strictly a visa. So it doesn't allow one to permanently stay into the United States. But you will be able to get more information about this talking to an immigration lawyer, but it is completely different for the EB5 visa.
All right, thank you. So I assume that this investment program is the same with the EB5 investment visa program. And then a follow-up question is, does this facility also include the possibility for the grant of citizenship?
Yes, when someone does the EB5 and they get the green card, so having a green card into the United States will allow you to get the citizenship after 5 years of residency. So personally, I'm a US citizen. I was a green card holder, and after 5 years, I was able to apply for citizenship. And it took me, what, like 3 months to get my citizenship. I filed, if I remember well, it was a month of November. That's when I filed, and in January I was able to get my to be sworn to become a citizen. So green card leads to citizenship if the individual wants it. Once the green cards becomes permanent, the dates on the green cards are 10 years, but that is only for the individual to go back to take new photo and also change their update their fingerprint. But the residency is permanent. Just like when you have a passport, it is for a certain period. You have to go and renew it. It's for 10 years. But yes, the EB5 leads to the citizenship, and Nigerians are eligible for dual citizenship, so they can maintain their Nigerian citizenship and also have a U.S. citizenship.
Right. Thank you for the answer. So the next question is about whether, apart from investing in real estate, are there other avenues for investment that can guarantee permanent residency in the US?
So that
Apart
question
from
must be,
investing in real estate.
yes, that question must be
Did you get
a little
that?
bit qualified. I get it pretty clearly. There are two type of investment in the EB5. There is one called a direct investment, and there is one called an regional center. A direct investment, as the name say, is someone who actually makes an investment on their own, manage it, and create the jobs and all that. Uh, in a regional center is what we do. When someone makes an investment on their own, they are the one in charge of finding an area that actually would qualify. If they only can invest $900,000, that qualify for the $900,000, create 10 new American jobs and maintain those jobs for 2 years. Those are jobs that are direct jobs, and they will have to provide every year the W-2 and I-9 proof of citizenship of every individual working in that whatever they have created, and provide that for them so that they can maintain their residency. If someone doesn't want to go through that hassle, they invest into a regional center, which is what we do. As a regional center, we are allowed to use indirect jobs. So we don't count the people working on the site or something like that, but we use the economical impact of one's investment into an area. Let's say, for example, if you invest $1 million in California, uh, the qualified expenditure are set to create 8 jobs. which means if for example, I'm building, well, let's use the project that we currently have. If I'm building a logistic building, I will need steel, I will need cement, I will need a lot of stuff. If the steel is purchased in the US, that is qualified expenditure because there are some people working in the area that the steel is made, and that has an economical impact. The cement that we are using, is it made in the US? If yes, then it's a qualified expenditure. So those are qualified expenditure, and with that we know exactly how many jobs are going to be created in a certain area. So up ahead we know how much we can raise in EB5 investment. So making a real estate is a little bit, the question is a little bit vague. It's not very specific, but we do real estate investment. We have done housing development, and that also has qualified for the EB5.
Okay, so, but is it possible for an investor to exercise the right of sellback to exit the investment? Is it possible?
No, so the difference is the investor, the way that we structure our deals, they are investing into a new commercial entity. They are investing into a company that we created from scratch. It will be a limited partnership. So one investor cannot just say, you know what, I'm leaving. The EB5 doesn't allow we don't provide a guarantee that, okay, well, whenever you decide, you can just, there's no redemption right. There you go. In the EB5, you cannot just say, well, you know what, I'm done, I'm getting out. There's no redemption right in the EB5. Once you make your investment, either your petition is denied or you decide not to pursue. But if you decide not to pursue, if you invest into a limited partnership, you cannot get your funds back, because if you do, you are jeopardizing the investment of all of the other individuals who have made an investment as well. The only time you can get your investment is when the funds is repaid back to the partnership. So because the funds are being used right now, we cannot just go to someone who's building something and say, well, give us back this. There's some agreements that have been put in place between that limited partnership that you have invested into and where the money is being utilized at. So we cannot just go and say, we want this money back. So the individual must wait until the funds are back into the partnership, and we will be able to return the funds back to him. That is completely different from someone who has received a denial of their petition. When someone receives a denial of their petition, we allow the return of the funds. Simply put, we can use the earnings of that partnership to return the funds back to the investor. Or if the partnership is making an early repayment, we can take that early repayment and return the funds back to that investor. Or the partnership will make a loan from a different partnership that have received their money back to be able to return the funds back to that investor so that they can leave the partnership. That's the only time that an investor can leave a partnership without actually being affected or affecting the rest of the investors in that partnership.
Wow, good to know. Olufemi Jayesimi wants to know the minimum amount one can invest in the EB5 to qualify. And then she also wants to know whether someone can be allowed to embark on any other business separate from the investment in EB5 or seek employment.
Okay, so the minimum investment amount in the EB5 since November 21st of 2019 has been increased to $900,000. It was $500,000 before that, and it was increased to $900,000 on November 21st, 2019. But at CMB Regional Center, we allow installment investment. So one can make an investment through installment, starting at a minimum of $300,000 plus the fees of $70,000. So the remaining balance of $600,000 will be invested through an agreed timeline between the general partner of the partnership and the individual investor. But we will need collaterals also to allow such investment, showing that the investor has enough capital to be able to fund their EB5, either a property or something that they can use as a collateral that will be valued uh, at or over the balance that they will owe. So that is the minimum investment. And the second question, can someone do the EB5 uh, through
And
other
someone
in,
embark on any other business separate from the investment or seek employment.
no, the EB5 is for one who can actually make a cash investment. And you, once you get access to the United States, you can, if you want to find a job in the US, yes, you have the residency, you can find a job or something like that. But our job is solely to give you access to the US, and then afterwards you will be able to move forward in your life on the way that you want to do it.
Okay, Olufemi also wants to know. So, are you done, sir?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so Olufemi also wants to know what the process and procedure required for application for investment in the EB5 project. The process and the procedure.
Okay, so for someone to be able to join an EB5 investment, first of all, they will have to have the minimum investment amount, and but also they should be able to source that money. It's not about just having the money, but you need to show where the money came from. And also a lot of mistake that I've noticed uh, personally, this is just based on experience of Nigerians making, is that you own your business 100% and you want to use the money that you have on your business for your EB5 investment. That is not going to be accepted because that is a different entity. Your business is a different entity. You are a different individual. Even though you own that entity 100%, you cannot just take the money from that entity to make the investment. There should be ways for that money to go from that entity to your personal account or to you. Either you have dividends, earnings from uh, paid to you by that business, or salary paid to you by that business that shows that, okay, this money went from your business to you as the individual, and then you as the individual made the investment, and your source of funds is to show that I got paid by my business through dividends or salary or to other earnings that I've gotten from my business. And now I'm making this investment for the EB5. You will also need to hire an immigration lawyer in the US who will be in charge of filing your petition with the US Citizenship and Immigration Services. We work on the business side of the EB5. The immigration will be the one working with you on the source of funds to gather all the documentation that they will need. We will provide the immigration lawyer with the information related to the business, the entity that you have invested into, what the investment is about, what the project is about, the location of the project to show that it qualifies, and the job that we are planning on building. All combined is what is going to be your I-526 petition. Just that package would be thousands of pages that they will submit to the US Citizenship and Immigration Services. That's why it takes a lot of time for them to process it.
Okay, fine. Thanks, Musa, for that detailed response. An anonymous attendee wants your view in the fact that there will be an imminent change in the U.S. government. So, is there a possibility that there could be a change in the EB5 application process? And the other leg of the question is whether the investment can be done in installments, which we have attended to. So, in view of the imminent change in the US government, is there a possibility that there will be a change in the EB5 application process?
So the EB5 is completely different. The EB5 is handled by the Department of Homeland Security. And then the Department of Homeland Security has a branch called the USCIS. And inside the USCIS, there's the IPO. The IPO is in charge of the EB5 program. The IPO in itself was the one who made the change of the investment amount. It didn't go to Congress or all that. So they have that freedom. It's not the president that will change the rules of the EB5, it's the US Congress. So a change of government is not going to make much impact into the EB5, the investment amount or all that, unless the folks at IPO decide that, okay, we want to lower it or increase the investment amount. The reason the EB5 investment amount was increased was because the US wanted to just be at the same level as several countries. Canada increased their investment amount from 500,000 to 800,000 Canadian dollars. The UK has also an investment amount, an investment program, and it's millions of pounds. Same thing with Australia and other countries. For example, in the EU also you have Malta that provides 2 million euros. So the US just saw that, okay, well, this is at 500,000. We just want to increase it to a certain level to match what is offered in the market. That's when they come up with the 900,000 figure. It is not the president who decided on that investment. It is not the US Senate. It's actually the Department of Homeland Security who came up with that and decided to make that increase. And as I explained earlier, you can make an investment through installment with a minimum of $300,000 as a first payment. I hope that answered the question.
All right. Thank you, Musa. A few more questions. A participant wants you to confirm if there are protective measures that have been put in place to safeguard an applicant's investment.
Yes. So when we make a loan, we put a lot of security and collaterals into the investment. It is not just something that we are just going to invest into. We're just going to give your money to someone without protecting it. So we will just act as a financial lender. We put several protection into the loan. It's a business-to-business loan. The only thing that the USCIS doesn't allow is that we don't have a guarantee between the individual investor and the partnership. There's no guarantee and protection between the two. But on the structure that I've put in, between the structure, the new commercial entity, and the JCE, the job creation entity, there are several protections in between. We have completion guarantees. We have usually we have around 2 years of interest escrowed, so that the payment of the distribution will be in place during construction and after construction. And we have ownership interest. If the borrower is in default, we can take ownership of the asset and be able to cure and pay the senior lender and stuff like that. I will use an example. One of our projects in Group 62 was affected by the COVID-19. It's a hotel in Minneapolis. They were unable to pay the interest, so we initiated a default proceeding, and they lost ownership of the asset. So now CMB Partnership Group 62 owned that asset in Minneapolis. And recently we also had an agreement with the senior lender to increase the term of that loan for an additional 39 months. So right now we are in charge of that asset. We will be the one paying the loan of the borrower, the senior lender, and afterwards we'll be able to sell or refinance if we want to hold that asset, but most likely sell the asset and be able to pay back the investors.
Okay. Thank you, Musa. Last question. So what are the likely restrictions, if any, to the grant of permanent residency by investment? Are there other considerations apart from the ability to meet the financial requirements?
For one to qualify, it's just to be able to make the investment and be able to source that money and to not have a criminal record, because the US will do a background check on the individual, and if they're not satisfied by what they found, they will not accept that individual. So not a criminal record, be able to source the funds and have enough capital to do so. So those are mostly the requirements. And your family will qualify, your wife and your spouse. There's no restriction in the numbers of kids that you have as long as they are below 21.
Okay, there's no restriction to the maximum number of family size.
I have a client from Saudi Arabia who has 14 children. and he was able to do the EB5, and all of those 14 kids qualified.
Okay, then, oh, wow. Okay, this might be the last question. So what is the length of time for processing the green card? And are there other additional costs apart from the investment?
So you have the 900,000 initial investment. To do the EB5 with CMB Regional Center, there is a syndication fee of $70,000. There is also the immigration attorney fees that you will negotiate with the immigration attorney that you will decide to move forward with. We can introduce you to several immigration attorneys, and the individual will choose whoever they are more comfortable with and move forward with that person. If the individual also wants to hire additional advisors to review the project that they're investing into, those are also additional fees that will be added into one's capital to invest in the EB5. In terms of the timeline, right now the I-526 petition usually takes around 2 years to be approved. And once the I-526 is approved, the next step is for that. USCIS is the first one to process it, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Once they approve it, then it goes to the National Visa Center. The National Visa Center will be the one doing a background check on the individual. They will be the one asking for the police clearance of any country that the individual has spent more than 6 months. Once provided, they will go through the background check to see if the individual is correct and doesn't have any criminal records or all that. Once they have that cleared, then they will send a correspondence to the embassy, the consulate, the residency of the individual in person. Once they receive that letter, they will be invited to an interview themselves and their family. They will just do their medical and be able to go to get their visa for 6 months visa and be able to enter the US. So the date of entry will be the beginning of the residency.
So it takes approximately 3 years.
There's no confirmed set date. It can take less, it can take longer. I have had a client who has received his approval in 3 months. I have had a client who has received his approval in 3 years. So it's not under our control. It's the Department of Homeland Security, so they will take the time that they need to do the proper background check on the individual and look at the source of funds. As I mentioned, it's thousands of pages of documents that will be filed. Just to provide the source of funds will take a lot of documentation. If, for example, one is using an asset that they sold, they will have to show how the asset was initially acquired and where the money that they used to acquire that asset came from. So it's not a straightforward answer to say, okay, I have 900,000, here's the 900,000. There's several other things that must be done to show that, okay, well, this person has obtained these funds legally.
Oh, thank you very much. Sorry, I have another question from an anonymous attendee. It says, what happens if an applicant is unable to complete the installmental payments on the investment? Is the investment sum paid back or forfeited?
Okay, so that is something that we just started recently. So when that's why we require a collateral. If the individual is unable to make the investment, either if they want to sell that collateral and complete the funding, they can do so, or if they just don't want it, the investment can be forfeited. We probably will have access to that 300,000 and it will be our lost money. So we just started that recently. I will have to get additional information related to that, but I will say that mostly the initial investment will be lost if the investor is unable to fulfill that commitment. But if one individual receives a denial, makes a full investment of $900,000 and receives a denial, then we will refund that capital.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. I guess that is all that we can take for now, except we'll receive additional questions. So this is to thank you for making our time to attend this webinar and for the insights we provided today, the detailed presentation and explanations provided with respect to the EB5 program. We hope that we'll get some feedback from our participants in the course of the week and on how to proceed with the application.
Mhm.
Then we'll also work together to ensure that we process in good time. So we sincerely want to thank you, Mr. Musa, for taking our time to attend and for the presentation and the responses to the questions. We hope that you will have time to attend to us in the nearest future too,
Of course.
as we continue to look for work partner in this regard. And also to thank our participants for also making our time to attend this webinar today. I'm sure we have learned one or two things about the investment migration in the US, and I hope that we'll be able to seize the opportunity offered by this webinar to try and see if we can get in the train. I would like to uh, ask you to join us in our webinars that will be coming up uh, this week and in December. We'll have a number of webinars that we have planned. One will be coming up on the 13th of February on artificial intelligence, digital disruption, and the new normal. It promises to be an insight full session. So we are, I ask that you should join us at that webinar. We also have another one coming up uh, on 4th December. The webinar will focus on the 2020 business review. Will be anchored by Dr. Abiodun Adedipe. It's going to also promises to be a very educative session. And then the last webinar, hopefully for the year, will be uh, 2021 economic outlook to be anchored by Bismarck Rwani um, on 11th December 2020. We will be sending out invites in this regard, and we hope that you also be in attendance at those webinars. We are grateful for having you today, and I would like you to know that we'll be circulating the recording to you after this webinar, even though you can also access the recording at our YouTube page, DCSL Nigeria, to watch at any time. We look forward to welcoming you at our future events, and I request that you kindly fill the feedback forms that will be sent to you so I will know what the future training needs will be so I can serve you better. So we thank you for your time and continue to ask you to keep safe. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you so much, Chinedu, for having us today. And anyone who has any question can go to Chinedu, and I will be able to answer them. And if they need any additional information related to the EB5, I also will be available to help them. So thank you, everyone who has joined us today.
Thank you, Musa. Thank you, everyone.